So I was in the apartment of a friend of mine, and after all the people had come and gone, and the thought of Adolf Hitler kept coming into my mind, and I thought, why am I thinking about Hitler? And as soon as I asked myself that question, I realized that in the realm of spirit, he was standing just to my left side. And I was very wary because I've heard stories of people uh, being visited by deceased people, and sometimes they would try to possess you or whatever. So I just said, what do you want? And that's when he said, love.
So, hello, Jerry. How are you? Thank you very much for coming to the show about Freedom Show. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, and I thank you for inviting me.
Okay, let me ask you this, Jerry. You mentioned in your book about seeing Hitler. Can you describe that encounter, please?
I didn't understand. Would you repeat that?
Okay, you mentioned that you met Hitler on one of your prayers.
Oh, yes.
Hitler, and he wanted love too.
Yes.
Can you describe that? Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, I have never attempted to commune with spirits of deceased people. So this was quite a surprise to me, but I was in Germany at the time with a very spiritual group of people, and they found out that I do laying on of hands. Now, that's nothing that anybody in this country has ever asked me to do, even in the realm of spirit. But over there, they were really into it, and they would ask me to do that for them, and I just had to schedule people for that. So I was in the apartment of a friend of mine, and after all the people had come and gone, I was still praying for some of them, and the thought of Adolf Hitler kept coming into my mind, and I thought, why am I thinking about Hitler? And as soon as I asked myself that question, I realized that in the realm of spirit, he was standing just to my left side. And I was very wary because I've heard stories of people uh, being visited by deceased people, and sometimes they would try to possess you or whatever. So I just said, what do you want? And that's when he said, love. Well, you could have blown me over with a feather. Adolf Hitler asking for love. I was still wary of him, and I was not about to let him into my consciousness to maybe play some havoc with me. And so the thought came to me to say, if you're really serious about this, I will take you to Jesus. Well, I've heard that if you mention Jesus' name or Jesus' blood, that any kind of spirit that's not in a relationship with Jesus would just head for the door. But he didn't. He just stood there patiently by my side, waiting for me to make good on my offer. So I took him to Jesus and left him there and asked Jesus to be gentle with him, because I thought anyone who had the life that Hitler had and is now seeking love uh, needs a lot of gentleness and love, because, of course, God had said it's not his will that any soul should perish, and Jesus said that he came not to save the righteous but sinners. So Jesus had a great interest in that. And also, once before, when I had asked Jesus to be gentle with somebody, he said, I am gentle. You just don't know what gentleness is. But
Wow, that's that's interesting. Now, how did you recognize that this was Hitler?
I just intuitively knew who it was.
Did
I
you
just,
see the image of him or something,
no,
or
no,
just okay?
no, I just felt his presence to my left side, as if he was standing by me on the left side. And I knew who it was, but I was not afraid.
Okay.
There was nothing that instilled fear in me about him. I just knew who it was.
So you see, even Hitler, he is looking for love, and he's. Do you think he is in heaven, or he is just waiting for his transition still?
I don't know. I don't get information of that kind. Some people do. I think wherever he is, uh, celestial beings are working with him, and Jesus is working with him and helping him. And it seems to me that it's quite possible that since he's turned to love, that he could become a great force for love. Maybe he will just realize that his deeper yearnings were directed in the wrong direction when he was on earth.
Now, let me ask you this. Jerry, do you believe in reincarnation?
I don't get information on reincarnations. No, I tend to believe that it's true, but I don't get any sort of information like that about people. No.
Okay, now you are 82 years old, right?
And what?
You are 82 years old.
I
I
didn't
said,
understand.
I said you are 82 years old, sir.
Oh, yes, 82, yes.
Okay, God bless you. Now, do you feel that you are an infinite soul in an 82 years old body?
Well, maybe I feel that I've had to really work very hard on spirituality. I didn't come in with it thrown in my lap like some people, but probably most people do have to work hard at it. So I think I butted my head against the wall a number of times, but I was searching wherever I could. I, for a couple of years, studied Vedanta, and I tried the Christian mystics, but they didn't make any sense to me. And I looked at Buddhism, that didn't make any sense to me. And so I was just trying different things until I finally found something that worked. But I'm very much indebted to that friend of mine. And that friend of mine is the subject of one of the healings that I describe in my book. Well, one of the stories about what happened to people, and it was a healing in his case.
Do you remember your life in heaven before you came to earth?
No, but strangely enough, I had felt for many years that when time came for me to be sent to earth, that I was being rebellious, that I just did not want to come. I knew it was not a pleasant place to be, and I was about to be shoved down the shaft. And so I heard of a very spiritual person who lived at Virginia Beach, and I was visiting some friends there. And so I went to her, and she did regressions. And I said, I want to go back and relive that experience of what it was like just before I came to earth, because I felt like I was shoved down a shaft. And so we did this, and it was really quite a story. As I felt they were about to push me, I said, I want to talk to Jesus. So they let me go and talk to Jesus. And I was saying, I really don't want to go there. I said, it's really bad and something needs to be done. And he said, there is something that can be done. Would you like to help? Well, I wasn't too keen on it, but who could say no to Jesus? So we had a long talk, and he encouraged me a lot and told me that he would be always by my side. I could always ask for him, and it was just really encouraging. And so then I consented. Not that it made a difference. I think I would have been shoved down the shaft anyway, but I accepted. So that does make a difference in my life, I would say.
Okay, so why did you go to Virginia Beach for these sessions?
I had lived there for 1 year, and I had some friends there, and I just like to go there to get away. And I my friends were extremely spiritual, and we could have some conversations, as well as my friend was always introducing me to people that I'd never heard of otherwise, who expanded my view of spirituality. So I just enjoyed going there. And I will say this, I don't know if it's just Virginia Beach or if it has a lot more to do with just being around water. But when I would turn off the road in Norfolk to, to go to Virginia Beach, immediately I felt a difference. I felt I was on a higher vibrational level. And then when I left to come home, as soon as I got to Norfolk, I felt grounded again.
Coincidentally, I live on Virginia Beach right now in Norfolk on Ocean View. And it is amazing here. The view of the ocean, the energy, and especially in summer, is just amazing. Do you think Virginia Beach is a place like one of the spiritual places like Sedona, Arizona, or Santa Fe, New Mexico?
Well, it certainly was. And of course, Edgar Casey lived there, and that's
Yeah.
one reason a lot of people go there. But a friend of mine who's very intuitive told me some years ago he felt that the light was leaving Virginia Beach and going westward. And other people have said it's not only leaving the Virginia Beach, it's going to leave the U.S. and head towards Eurasia somewhere. I don't know about those things. Those are just things that I hear about. But I felt a much higher vibration to spirituality in Virginia Beach than I did in Sedona. I went to Sedona once. It's a higher vibration, but it's not the kind of spirituality that I resonated with. It's a different kind.
You said you remember a little bit about your time before your incarnation on Earth, and you didn't want to come here. Why do you think you came back to Earth?
Well, I think my soul needed some more development, as well as I needed to experience some more down level things. I've been told by intuitive people that in the past I have been priests and ministers, but that was somewhat removed from the real life of the common people. So I came back this time in to serve in more than one way, to serve really on a physical level, some very, very down to earth people who were not really interested in or higher things, at least not that being expressed in words and ideas. I mean, some of the people were extremely highly spiritual, but some of them couldn't even read and write. And then I had a lot of service with my family, my parents, and my sister who had brain damage at birth. So I was doing physical stuff like, changing diapers and that sort of stuff for many years. So I think I needed to really learn to get into that so that I would not get lost in the more mental stuff like theology. I really wanted the experience of God. That was what I was interested in. And when I first started studying the Vedanta, I was intrigued by the ecstatic experiences they were having, and that's what I really was interested in at the time. But as the years went by, I began to really want to go beyond that, to just resting in that deep peace and stillness and feeling it radiating from me. And strangely enough, when I was young, I studied pipe organ, and I went to Europe and studied for 6 years. And my organ teacher here, where I am in Alabama, I didn't know, but he was very intuitive. And he told me one time, anytime that you are in the church, I feel it. And I said, how do you feel it? He said, a deep serenity. And I thought, a hyper person like me, how can you feel serenity? But I think that's a double nature to me. There's the inner nature that's connected to the peace, but the outer nature, there was a lot demanded of me, and so I was always running around trying to take care of everything that needed to be taken care of. Still, when I was living in Switzerland, I had a friend and we were sitting talking one time, and after I've talked to people for a little while, somehow or other, something within me starts reaching out to connect to something deeper. And so I sometimes tend to kind of stare out into space. And she looked at me and she says, "Hello, where are you? You've left me." Well, I was hearing what she was saying, but something within me was reaching out to that deeper peace that I had not even studied or knew how to formulate thoughts about at that time.
Okay, Jerry, at what stage in your life you became interested in spirituality?
Well, when I was studying church music, I was interested to the extent that I felt that I was closer to God when I was playing some of the music there, because it was written by people who were expressing some higher level. But then after I had problems with my joints, and to play the organ and the piano, you need good ankles and you need good wrists, and one of my wrists and ankles weren't working very well, so I had to give up the music. So uh, I guess I was around 30 or so that I met a man who said he had had an experience of cosmic consciousness, and that sounded intriguing to me. And through him, I learned about Vedanta and started studying then. So I was around age 30 when I began to consciously and deliberately pursue the study of spirituality.
So your path to awakening started when you were about 30 years old, right?
Yes, and sometime after that, I was studying in the Bible, and then I had that first STE, what are they all called? But it was a dream. Although it was a dream, it was a spiritual experience, and I knew when I woke up
Okay.
it was. And I had had several dreams before that in which I was seeking the entrance to a secret staircase. I didn't know what that meant, but in this particular dream, when I started seeking for the secret staircase, someone came and opened some golden gates for me. I ascended a small staircase and came out on a very lavishly furnished, it seemed like a stage. And for some reason, I turned around and that was just blinding light. I had to throw myself on my face and cover my head because I couldn't bear the brilliance of the light. And I thought after that, well, maybe I'll have a lot of experiences like that. Well, I never had another one quite like that. And then as I deliberately studied, I really became depressed because I didn't think I was getting along any further. And then I had the second experience, and that was a friend of mine visited me and he wanted to go to see a movie. Well, it just so happened that the movie that we went to see was called Chariots of Fire, which has a spiritual, religious tone to it. And as soon as we sat down in the theater, Jesus was sitting in the body of my friend. I knew it was Jesus. There was absolutely no question in my mind. I recognized the vibration of him. It was very strong, and he was just sitting there radiating this divine love to me almost through the whole movie. And I thought, oh, wow, I really want to continue to have experiences like that. Well, I've had many experiences in which I knew Jesus was with me, but it was never quite that strong. And I think perhaps the reason might be that I'll get so intrigued with that that I would forget about people, other people. And that's what my purpose in being here is to touch other people, to allow God through me to touch people, whether I'm aware of it or not. And part of the way that you get that to happen is to set the intention for it to happen, and then you don't try to monitor it.
Okay, so you got this calling for praying for other people. You got this message from somewhere coming to you that you have to pray. How the desire came into your heart to be praying for other people?
Well, often you just hear about people who are having some kind of hardship, whether it's financial or physical or mental or whatever, and you just have compassion for them, and you'd like to pray. And I mean, God can do anything and he doesn't need you, but still somehow or other God does use us in some way. And by reaching out to these people, you can be of assistance, allowing God to touch them through you. And I wanted, I really wanted to be a healer. I wanted to be, like Joel Goldsmith. Well, I'm not Joel Goldsmith, that's for sure. I But that process that I use that you had asked me about, I haven't told you yet all the steps. I get to the stage where I would be doing something like Joel Goldsmith, but I lead up to it with other things.
Okay, but can you describe for us the method of your meditation? You said that you meditate in your own way.
Well, it's really what people call praying for other people, and I call it communing with the Spirit of God within them. Uh, and I did lead prayer at a local church for the prayer service uh, a number of months, and this is the basic outline. I first asked for the presence of Christ to protect me, and then I asked for God to cleanse me of all impurities so that I will be his empty vessel. And I know from experience that when I come in love for my brothers and sisters, the door is open to come before the Father God. I ask the Holy Christ to guide me and show me how to pray. Then I imagine the person standing before me, which is something Joel Goldsmith would not do. But I ask the Holy Christ to place his hands in mine, and I ask that person to allow Christ through me to remove all things in them and around them that are not in accordance with the Father's will at that time, so that the Spirit of God in them can then express without hindrance and then bless other people that they come in contact with. And I say to them that as they allow Christ to move these things, they just disappear back into the nothingness whence they came. And I use my hands a lot when I am praying, so that I'm reaching out to them, and I'm removing these things, in my mind and my spirit. And so after that, I say, now I ask you to allow the Christ to caress your aura, your body, your whole being with his love and healing power, so that it will bring into balance and harmony with God's will all things about you. And those two steps are my idea of giving the person a little cleaning up, because I want to bring them to the presence of God, and I think people should be cleaned up before they're brought before God. Then after that, I get a little closer to the Goldsmith approach. Then I picture myself coming to the door of their heart, and in all gentleness I say, now I ask you to open the door of your heart so that I may be blessed with a glimpse of the beauty of holiness there, right in the Holy of Holies, deep within you. And I often find with people who don't know me personally and who have never had an interest in spiritual things, that for about the first 2 weeks that I pray for them, they just totally ignore me. Gradually, they do warm up to me and stop giving me the impression they're thinking, who is this fellow that keeps bothering me? And one of the stories in my book has to do with Khomeini, as I was praying for world leaders, and another one with my mother. Well, when I prayed for Khomeini, it was 5 months before I got a response. With my mother, it was a whole year. And it was a totally different experience of light. With Khomeini, it was a very serene and brilliant light. And I remember after that, every time I thought of him, all I thought about was that beautiful light. With my mother, it was a light that was just washing over me like great waves of water flowing over me. And it made me laugh. And I noticed a difference in both of those people afterwards. With my mother, it was that she had hip replacement, wasn't doing well, and she just didn't feel like doing anything. So the next day after I had prayed for her, when I came home from work, I saw that she had been in the kitchen cooking pastries again like she used to, and everybody loved it. So after that, if people do open the door, and I get that experience, which is such a delight, I ask them also to keep the door of the heart open so that they can receive all the blessings that God has in store for them, because a closed heart cannot receive these gifts. After that, I may say, I ask the Spirit of God within you to come forward, watching over all parts of your being, your mind and thoughts, your emotions, that is, all fears, rejections, hate, your physical body and your soul, transforming them all into perfect empty vessels through which every person that you encounter or think about will be blessed, whether you're aware of it or not. Sometimes if the person is in a lot of distress, I will just say, I lift you up into the arms of God that you may feel and know that embrace, that loving embrace that brings you such comfort. And after that, I may ask God to return that person to us and then say to them, let us now go before the throne of grace. We go there. I picture this throne of grace, God there, and we bow before God and we ask God to bless us and to ordain us to service to our fellow men, our fellow humans, all of them, and that we may go forth doing His will. Then I close by thanking God or Christ for His presence with me and the guidance He's given me. And I ask Christ to help that the person I'm praying for to recognize and be aware of His presence beside them as He goes with them forth in their lives.
Okay, you said you can feel people's distress. How do you feel that? You can see that around them, or you just feel it in your heart? How do you feel that?
Well, sometimes I do feel that they are, and if I know them personally, I will know if they're in distress. But when I first just imagine the person in front of me, whether I know who it is or not, whether I know what they look like or not, I often just seem to sense a sort of a murky cloud around them. And a lot of times that's mental distress, worry, discouragement. But it can be, something in the physical body. I just seem to sense that. And that's the reason I want to ask them to let Christ extend His hands through mine to them and just remove those things to the extent that they allow. I'm not trying to force anything on them. And if they will allow it, they do get relief from it.
How do you prepare for your prayers or for your meditations?
Well, that's something that you might find sort of funny. Many people think when they pray or meditate, they have to sit down for 15 minutes or 30 or whatever. With me, it's an instantaneous thing. I think of somebody and immediately I just go to that deep space within where the silence is, and I can feel it. I may be sitting at the table eating. I can be driving down the road, and or in the middle of the night, especially if I get up to go to the bathroom and I come back and don't go to sleep immediately. Someone comes to mind, and I'm just really, really deep then. But I don't need a process. It's something that I can do immediately.
Okay, let me ask you a question which you may not want to answer, but I'm curious. I know that there is some chemicals that we put in our body that can be very damaging to our meditation and prayer and concentration. For example, medications, caffeine, alcohol, cigarettes, stuff like that.
I'm sure that stronger medications can sort of space you out where you don't feel like you can do anything. Although I think I could go beyond that, but I don't take any stronger medications, and
You
I
don't take any medications right now?
I take some, but they're not stronger ones.
Okay.
I take medication for inflammatory arthritis, and uh, that's really the main things that I'm taking it for. But they don't seem to space me out much, and uh, not that I can tell.
Do you take any blood pressure medication?
No.
Okay, so your blood pressure is normal.
Yes,
Wow, that's beautiful.
but it may even be a little bit low.
Well, you're not overweight for sure. That helps. Now, let me ask you this, Jerry. Are you afraid of death?
No, I'm looking forward to it because uh, the physical body is like a dead weight on me, and I want to just soar away. But I know that there are things I'm assigned to do, and that I shouldn't be asking God to let me go soon. But sometimes I do when my knees and my back and my shoulders are bothering me, and I can't sleep at night, and I think, why can't you just come get me now? But it seems that then there are still people that I don't know how it works. It's, God can do anything, and He doesn't need us to do it. But still, there are assignments for us to do, and it seems that we do play a role. And maybe it's for our own sakes more than it is the people we pray for. I'm not sure about that.
I think God is just doing everything through us here on this earth. So that's why we have these desires. He experiences life on earth through us. What do you think about that?
A desire to what?
God is experiencing life on earth through us.
Well, yes. Um, Joel Goldsmith says individualized consciousness is what we are. We are God individualized here. And all of what God is, we are. It's just that we haven't realized it yet, most of us. Uh, it seems that God created so that He would have some companionship, and He wants those that He created to continue in a close relationship with Him. And apparently, in the Garden of Eden, the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil sort of distance ourselves from them, because the realm of good and evil, and even of physical bodies, is not something that's totally real, because it will one day disappear. Things that are totally real are there forever. So we have lapsed into an identification with and a fascination with creation was not that was man tampered with, and so we need to return to the reality, and still we need to be on this realm to function while we're functioning in the other realm.
Okay, you said that you are not afraid of death anymore. When this, and you are looking forward actually to that, when this desire to move to another side came into your heart first time?
I'm not sure, but the any fear of death began to leave me when I started communing with the Spirit of God and other people. I just lost any fear of them and of death. It's because you're beginning to shift your sense of identity away from the the physical level, earth level things, and so you don't fear death anymore. In fact, you know that if you're released from the body, you're released into the realm of eternal spirit.
Okay, how did you get this knowledge that you are released to the eternal spirit?
I think it was just the experiences with people when I prayed for them. Of course, I had that dream of being the light and the dream with Jesus, but I needed to experience the Spirit of God in other people. When I did that, I just lost a fear of death.
Okay, so you said you felt Jesus many times in your prayers and your meditation. How did you feel Jesus? You've seen his face, you've seen his his figure or something, or you just felt in your heart? And how do you know exactly that was Jesus?
I just sense it, and it's very subtle. It's not strong like it was in the theater there, but it's very subtle, and I just intuitively know who it is.
You mentioned that you saw Jesus in the body of your friend while watching a movie, and you saw that light
No, no.
in your friend's chest. Can you describe that, please, that experience?
Well, I didn't see anything in my friend. I just felt it. I knew that Jesus was sitting there in his body. But also, when we were talking at home, I would sometimes sense this light in his chest. And I mentioned it to him, and he said, "That's because I'm concentrating on the light of God in you." And you then are noticing it on a spiritual level and seeing it within me. So that's the reason I think the way that I pray is effective, because when I concentrate on that Spirit of God in other people, then it's beginning to awaken something deep within them that some people may not have ever had awakened before, or even had deeper thoughts about. And it's also, I think, one of the reasons that we can pray for like world leaders who are creating havoc in the world.
Do you think the world leaders in our time right now are on the side of the light or are on the side of the darkness?
Well, I see a lot of darkness there. I mean, the side of the light wouldn't be creating havoc and killing people. And I think most of the world leaders have indulged in things of that sort. They, I think, for a lot of them, there's some ego problem of their own, and they're trying to project that onto whole nations of other people, and it's there's an awakening there that needs to come.
Okay, now do you think that these world leaders make their own decisions or they are controlled behind the scenes by somebody else?
I don't get information on that. Some of them, I think, do make their own decisions, and there are some others who are just totally controlled by somebody else. They may just be like figureheads there. It's different from one nation to the other.
I would like to ask about your time in Virginia Beach. You said you had these regression sessions. Can you describe in detail your regression sessions in Virginia Beach?
Well, the people who are helping you are simply helping you to release the attraction of your thoughts and your mind to uh, the world around you. And as you go deeper and deeper, then you open up to experiencing things. And at first, I didn't know how to do it. I was expecting it to be like looking at a movie, but it wasn't. It's more like very subtle impressions. And one of the things that I really learned there at Virginia Beach was, if you want to get into doing this sort of thing, and ideas come into your mind, you think, "Oh, that's nothing, that's nothing." Well, don't say that. Take that idea and go with it. Just start speaking whatever comes to mind. And if once you start that, then a whole bunch of other things just come right after it. But you've got to open the door to it by starting with whatever presents itself to your mind. And the experience of how it was before I left the other realms to come to earth, it was deeply moving. I cried through the whole thing. But I had another one. The first regression experience I had was, and it had to do with past life. I was assuming it was that. I I had, of course, studied music, and I thought that music could be healing to people, just as David played for King Saul. And so I had this experience and I felt like it was in ancient Alexandria, Egypt, and I was in a small room, and all the walls were white like marble, And I was sitting there with a harp in my hand, and someone came in, and I was playing the harp for them to bring some healing to them. It was a very short regression, but I thought it was unusual to have had that, and it sort of opened my mind to some deeper things. Without you really can't verify this sort of thing, so you can't always say whether it's something that really happened before or whether it's an impression that you're getting that represents something else. And I'm not good at interpreting symbols.
Okay, now you mentioned that you are kind of looking forward to your passing away, I mean, going to heaven or to another side. Do you feel any joy and happiness, like a happy expectation in your heart when you think about this?
Well, some people think of heaven as streets of gold and angels singing and playing instruments, but I hope that I will be allowed to go beyond those things back to the very heart of God and just rest there in peace without needing any kind of distractions or experiences that would be similar to what one might imagine here on earth.
Yeah, you see, some near-death experiencers, people who went to another side and came back here, they say that people see on the other side what they expect to see. Let's say if you're a Christian, you're going to see Christ. If you're a Buddhist, you're going to see Buddha. If you believe in a beautiful scenery, you're going to see a beautiful scenery. What do you think about this?
I think that may be likely, but of course I have no idea.
Okay, Jerry, I'm going to ask you one question about your book. I know you have a book called Dwell in Love. Can you talk about this a little bit?
Now, I put this book, Dwell in Love, online because it seemed nobody was interested in buying the books, and I have a storage house full of books.
Yeah. So you
And
got it's right now. It's for free, or it's for a fee, or it's for a donation.
if anyone wants a copy of the book, I just stopped selling them. I didn't want to deal with the taxes.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants a book, I would appreciate if they would pay for the shipping cost,
Yeah.
because some people would consider me to be living on a poverty level. But I put the whole text online so anybody could read it that wanted to, and if they didn't want the copy. But you can go to my website, which is www.dwellinlove.com, and there you can request a hard copy if you want to. You can send me a message, and as well as you can read the whole book there.
Okay.
My blog is also www.dwellinlove.com/messages/. There you can read the blog.
Yeah. If you can send me that information, I will put it in the description of this video.
Okay.
Also, let me ask you, Jerry, what's your definition of freedom?
My definition would be not being enslaved to the senses of earth life and not being enslaved to particularly your emotional attachments and to things like fear or hate or obsession with different things. Actually, even being free of the physical body, or just going beyond that and just resting in spirit. That would be my idea of total freedom. But it's possible while you're still here on earth to reach a level where you can just go there whenever you want to.
One more question, Jerry. What do you think is your purpose in this life?
Well, it's twofold. Part of it was to develop my own being and become less self-centered, maybe. And the other purpose is to offer assistance to other people when often they don't even know that you're doing it. They're not aware of it. They haven't even asked for it. Sometimes God does that through you without you knowing about it, but also in deliberately just thinking of someone and then thinking, this is God come to earth to express as an individual consciousness, and the outer things do not define the person. Deep within, there's this there's this beautiful light and love that is what the reality is of that person. And by reaching out to that and touching it, you are beginning to quicken it within them and bring it forth to full bloom in their lives.
That's a beautiful purpose, Jerry. One last question. What is your message for my listeners, for listeners of About Freedom Show? Do you have a message for them?
Stop more often and think about God. Contemplate what God is, although we really can't comprehend that here. But there are many scriptures and other books that you could read and think about and contemplate what the message is, and to think that there is a deeper purpose than anything that we could ever come up with for our lives, and to seek to reach out to that and to just feel joy, just joy without any particular reason of something happening. Just know the joy of God's Spirit.
Okay, Jerry, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Well, thank you very much for coming to my show. And I appreciate it very much. What you're doing for the world, praying and being a help to other people, even if they don't ask you for this. So I do appreciate very much what you're doing, and with your book and with your prayers and with your beautiful energy. Thank
I
you very
thank
much.
I thank you for what you are and what you are doing.
Thank you for watching About Freedom Show. I really appreciate you. Please subscribe, and thanks again for your support.